Living ironically in Europe. Why Gen Z is becoming socialist. And I think the majority of it, they're so used to getting everything they want, so they think they don't want to work for a living. They don't think they should have to work for a living because they're so used to getting trophies for nothing.
A couple of decades ago, communism was deemed as the biggest evil created by mankind. Entire generations were raised to prepare against...
That's what's funny. So, fair warning out there for everyone who's trying to get a visa here in America. They still ask to this day, like, it was funny, I don't want to put my wife on the spot, but they still ask to this day because we are going through the process of getting a visa, and we went in and they asked, it was just like, are you a communist? And my wife said no, and I'm like, you could ask a ton of Americans and they'd be saying yes, and they're like, well, we've been asking this question since the Cold War, so if you're asked that question, say no, say you're not a communist.
Inevitable nuclear Armageddon against the socialist scourge. But sometime between the 2010s and today, socialist stopped being a slur and became a badge of honor. Zoomers are out there quoting Hassan Piker like the gospel, cheering for rent freezes and casually saying eat the rich like it's a catchphrase. And what's even worse, a self-described socialist became the mayor of the largest American metropolis. I mean, would someone think of the poor corporations and billionaires? So, what happened? How did an entire generation stop fearing one word, socialism? Their parents were taught to associate with gulags and breadlines. Well, let's get into it. To understand why Gen Z is slowly turning more left-wing, we should first understand what prevented other generations from doing so. We'll exclude Eastern Europe from this conversation because they already went through the whole communist shtick and they want nothing to do with it. And instead, we'll focus on how the West viewed socialism back in the day. To them, it was the enemy, the scourge upon mankind's natural freedom. Baby boomers grew up with the threat of literal nuclear annihilation just hanging over their heads. They were drilled with duck and cover propaganda and were taught that the USSR wanted nothing more than to bury the free world. Gen X inherited that fear secondhand, but then got their own capstone event with the fall of the Berlin Wall, and undeniable proof that capitalism won the Cold War. See, I mean, it's the end of history, the end all be all. Nothing more to do here, folks. Socialism failed, the case closed, just don't ask again, alright? Millennials might have lost on the whole USSR thing, but instead they got something way better. 9/11, which signaled an even greater societal polarization. An entire generation based on team sports mentality, where any critique of Western capitalism got lumped in with just being unpatriotic. Or worse yet, sympathizing with terrorists.
Either you are with us, or you are with the terrorists.
And this wasn't just an American phenomenon
whip.
either. Western Europe had its own version of this. NATO countries drilling in the Soviet boogeyman into their curriculum, while post-9/11 Europe dealt with its own wave of nationalism and war on terror paranoia. But Gen Z? Well, we got neither. No Iron Curtain, no towers falling, only La Boo-Boos and Fortnite event.
But before that, a quick word about today's sponsor, Merlin AI. Nowadays, it seems that every company has an AI tool of their own, and each one of them charges you an...
And I approve this message.
Doing your mom, doing your mom.
There were some terror attacks, but there was no defining moment where socialism was embodied in this enemy.
Yeah, it wasn't like anything that cornered, well, I guess in India they've had that moment. They had several moments after but it wasn't as effective for the U.S. because what does the U.S. care? Like, the U.S. needs something affecting the U.S. to make the U.S. proud of itself. And during my generation, it would have been 9/11. Like, it was very patriotic. I remember seeing the original, like, it was taken down. The original Spider-Man trailer was taken down because the original Spider-Man trailer had a helicopter strung up between the two towers, the Twin Towers. And they had to remove that trailer because of of that. They had to remove the trailer and they had to reshoot a few scenes in order to make it not as hurtful. And they shot a lot of extra scenes of Spider-Man just, doing a Spider-Man crouch in front of flags. Like, anytime there's an idle scene, there was a flag in the background. Like, for several years afterwards, like I said before, me and my wife were watching Inside Man, and right outside the wall of the bank, painted on the wall, is "We will never forget." Fast forward 20 years, we've forgotten. But yeah, that was kind of like it was in our media for so many years that it was like, yeah, this is incredibly important. This is incredibly important. This is incredibly important. Never let hate win out. Even though the U.S. has its own version of hate towards other people, but it's like, never let hate win out. We need to stick with each other. But yeah, the next generation didn't get something like that. They didn't get a huge tragedy. They just got a bunch of people coming in and telling them that it's a good thing. And it functions like a U.S. has a ton of social programs, but they function thanks to capitalism.
You have to fear and fight. To us, the USSR is a black and white history lesson, and 9/11, a funny punchline. Okay, that's great and all, but how does that explain the sudden rapid rise of leftism amongst the kids? Well, here's where it all gets interesting. Instead of inherited fear, we got 2008. We got austerity. We got people going homeless while banks got bailed out. Our enlightened individualist way of life and fiscal policy that beat the collectivist Satan was suddenly failing to deliver its promises. Do you know what else we got? COVID. You could say that the pandemic was our own capstone crisis. The same way 9/11 and the Cold War defined the generations before us. We watched...
Yeah, I don't think the housing market affected Gen Z. I think that was still more of a millennial thing, since Gen Z was still... Yeah, it's not the same. It's not the same. COVID would make sense.
Governments suddenly discovered they could suspend rent, halt evictions, and print trillions of dollars overnight. But that doesn't matter, because we were promised a society where if you work hard enough, you'll be able to sit in a private plane and eat caviar to your heart's content. Ugh. But then came the hangover. Inflation ate whatever savings people scraped together, landlords jacked up rent, the second restrictions were lifted, wages just stagnated and, well, continued to do so. Meanwhile, the same billionaires who gave us hope during lockdown saw their net worth balloon up into the stratosphere. And no matter how hard you worked or how big your workload got, instead of us being in that private plane, it was instead filled with alleged human traffickers that are now in Britain and tweeting. But it's not like Europe was doing any better. Like, let's be real, it's Europe we're talking about. The UK has its own cost of living crisis headlines on rotation. Germany's dealing with its energy crisis and housing shortage. And I don't even want to talk about Southern Europe's unemployment numbers, you know. Whether in Europe, Berlin, Barcelona, or Boston, the math just doesn't math up anymore. You know, degrees are depreciating and don't even guarantee jobs anymore.
Yep.
Jobs don't guarantee affordable rent. And rent doesn't guarantee anything resembling life your parents had at your age. So, like, fucking just spend it on matcha and labubus. Fuck it. And when such economic burdens...
Yeah, that kind of thing, that consumerist kind of culture, I am completely against. What's funny is, like, I'm okay with capitalism, but for some reason, consumption, which is the product of capitalism, I am not for. And so many people that are on the socialist spectrum are all for the consumption of consumerist type of, like, you know, the Labubu nonsense, the Stanley Cup nonsense. Why would you spend that kind of money on a cup? A cup is good because it's like a Stanley Cup is supposed to be good because you can use that cup forever. And then people buy like hundreds of versions of that thinking it's like the whole Beanie Baby craze back in the day. I remember being in school when I was in school, and I remember having like classmates talking about how their parents had taken out their savings account to buy thousands of dollars worth of Beanie Babies because these Beanie Babies would be worth tens of thousands of dollars in the future. They're in the landfill now. They're in the landfill now. They're not worth what they were said to be worth. Because, yeah, just like, what the heck? And this were the rich kids' families. It was a private school. So it wasn't a big hit to them, but at the same time, thousands of dollars on Beanie Babies, because it's gonna increase in value. Because Beanie Babies are gold. But this kind of consumerist mindset has existed, especially in the West, for a long period of time. I remember seeing it during the Beanie Baby craze, and people have learned to capitalize on that and make a ton of money off of it. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to find something you enjoy, because I like Legos. I like to build Legos, but it's the building process I enjoy, not the having it. It's the building I enjoy. But yeah, so many people just want to purchase and to consume, just to consume.
Become too much to carry, socialist ideas begin to thrive. But
BreadTube.
that's not the whole picture. Sure, when times are tough, some people become radicalized. But
UK's
scream
doomed
your
regardless.
frustrations into the void,
Yeah.
and the void doesn't scream back. But scream your frustrations online, and suddenly you have a following and your ideas spread. Welcome to BreadTube, the left's answer to the alt-right pipeline. Contrary to what the name suggests, this isn't a community debating on whether or not banana bread is better than garlic. Rather, it's a loose network of leftist YouTubers and video essayists, named after the book of Russian anarchist Pyotr Kropotkin, The Conquest of Bread. In it, Kropotkin lists out some of the flaws of both capitalism and feudalism, and modern BreadTubers honor him and his legacy by tackling modern systemic problems of today, sprinkling some Marxist talking points here and there, and packaging it into content that's actually watchable and engaging. Having time to read Marx in this economy? Buddy, the best I can do is a 20-minute video in the background. Long-format video essays about your favorite movies, leftist messaging, meme-heavy edits with an ironic, endearing, theater kid-like energy, hour-long Twitch streams where Hassan reacts to Fox News with the energy of a
The fact that it's the chair he's holding.
sports commentator? Fuck me, Hassan. You know, these content formulas were very effective at garnering large audiences who were frustrated with the state of the world and were looking for alternatives to the alt-right meta. You know, I mean, there's like just so many debates you can do with college students whilst calling them snowflakes. You know, it kind of gets old after 5, 6, or 6, 7 of them. The jokes has been dead like for a while. I don't even know why I'm still doing it. I feel like such a boomer saying like, haha, 6, 7, you kids like 6, 7, haha, I'm funny. Hassan, 6, 7, chair. But there's a sneakier reason it worked too. BreadTubers figured out how to game the same exact system that built the alt-right pipeline in the first place. Same titles, same tags, same keywords, same packaging. It's basically all the same as your average right-wing rage bait video, just left. I mean, just take a look at Paul Joseph Watson.
What happened in Birmingham on Monday night?
Video after video, he makes the same content that propagates outrage.
An OnlyFans girl wasn't happy when she was told that getting her bits out on camera was severely damaging her future chances of finding a husband.
Makes infantile jokes.
Grocery store because of the people that live in the camp.
Oh, I don't know. They look perfectly charming and friendly to me.
Oh,
You're all refugees.
Acts smug and blames the immigrants or liberals for all the world's woes. And then take a look at Hassan. Same rage bait, clickbait thumbnails, same inflammatory statements,
America deserved 9/11, dude.
narcissistic arrogance.
The Persian diaspora, the Iranian diaspora, has that same like Zionist attitude.
But instead of blaming the migrants, he blames the Zionists and capitalists. So the same lonely, terminally online 17-year-old fanboy who normally get a straight diet of Ben Shapiro debating SJWs suddenly finds a leftist streamer sitting at the exact same fork in the road, dressed in the same internet native packaging he already trusts. You know, it almost reminds me of a certain shape. I just can't put my finger on it. Instead of handing a
They're all the
20-year-old Das
same.
Kapital and telling them good luck, BreadTube instead handed them a 40-minute video with jokes, societal critique, production value, and a personality that feels more like a funny older cousin rather than a typical professor. You know, that also kind of reminds me of someone, but I just can't put my finger on it. Yeah, 1 second you're watching someone poke fun at Friends' many, and I mean many, plot holes. The next second you're binging Second Thoughts rants on capitalist propaganda. It's a slippery slope. Whether or not you think that's genuine political engagement or just parasocial brain rot with a red flag pin in it, the effect is undeniable. An entire generation absorbed their politics through streams and video essays instead of book
in thinking for themselves. I think that's the biggest thing that's gotten lost, where so many people are just wanting to be told what to follow. They don't have the critical thinking skills to know how to think for themselves and learn what they believe in themselves. That's the biggest problem, I think, especially for, and I wouldn't say so much Gen Z. I mean, the younger Gen Z, because Gen Z is joined the workforce already, but Gen Alpha primarily. Like Gen Alpha is the one that's truly gonna suffer continuing, because yeah, a few of the Gen Zs are becoming parents now. But yeah, that would be primarily it. They have no real knowing of who they are. They're like, again, so you can point at like 9/11, where people saw such a tragedy and they felt like we are American. They felt like this is who we are. There was this strong feeling that we are one people. And that it does make a lot of sense, where it's like that massive struggle. And then, of course, you see like the 2008 where that crisis, and then it's just, there's so many people losing their homes. Of course, the banks get bailed out, yet the people lost everything, which is such a disheartening thing to see. But yeah, it kind of makes sense that so many people, the generations after, don't have the feeling of belonging. They don't know where they should stand because they never had anything challenge their existence in any way. And there are millennials and like Zoomers and whatever who still struggle with where they belong in life. Because again, it's something you have to deal with yourself. Not everyone goes through it the same way. Yes, there are life experiences. Yes, there are things that happen in the world that kind of make you become who you are, but still, just like 9/11 isn't going to affect me because I was in California. That would affect people who are more in New York at the time, as tragic as it was, and as I still felt the repercussions of it, it still didn't affect me personally. What affected me is finding out who I was in my ailments growing up, all my illnesses. I had to grow up and figure out who I was, because I even know people who are older than me that still have no idea who they are. They're learning who they are. They're coming to terms with who they are, but they still don't truly understand it, because it's one of those things that and a lot of people, especially the next generation, is just trying to find, like, that's why a lot of people watched the news back in the day, either Fox News or CNN. Those were like the only two outlets, and you would watch the one that you felt was gonna be honest with you, even though they were both just showing you their side and refusing to show the other side. And so for the following generations, they're just looking to streamers. They're looking to content creators to try and get just a piece of information, even in those situations, it's very one-sided, very, very biased.
And party meetings. And when many people feel unheard and forgotten in this world, naturally they tend to gravitate to a person who they perceive as telling it as it is. And with unlimited access to information just through your fingertips, socialist ideas are able to spread faster than ever. The printing press has jack shit of Twitter, you know? Ultimately, young people are turning socialist because of genuine concern about the ruling liberal capitalist system they live in. And these concerns are exacerbated by catchy left-wing content from social media and BreadTubers, whilst also lacking usual pushback the previous generations received during the Cold War or post 9/11, right? Well, kinda, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. At the end of the day, most Gen Z socialists have, well, not read Das Kapital, or Kropotkin, or anything past the first chapter of, I don't know, whatever leftist book they're supposedly reading. And the term socialist can mean many things, depending on which uncle you ask. For a huge chunk of this population, socialism isn't the detailed blueprint of seizing the means of production, as it used to be. It's more of a vibe, you know, like it's more of a vibe. Like, seize the means of production. It's anti-billionaire, pro-union, pro-UBI, tax the rich, eat the rich, slightly saute the rich before cooking the rich, all wrapped up in a neat package of $1,383 worth of glass frames package. I don't know. Hassan has expensive glasses, that's what I want to say. He's fucking wearing expensive glasses. Ask 10 different Gen Zers what socialism means, and you'll get 10 different answers. Ranging from full state ownership of all industry to just, well, like, you know, like what they have in Norway, but, you know, like, with nicer weather. The prisons are nice, you know, like you have a computer in prison, man, like, fucking hell. A lot of what gets called socialism these days is just, you know, European social democracies with a rebrand. Stuff plenty of capitalist countries already do to varying degrees of effectiveness. Just with better branding for a generation raised online. You know, everyone wants a Swedish-style social democracy, but no one talks about socialism with Bosnian characteristics. Like, y'all are just posers at this point. And we're not talking about a monolithic united movement either. It's less of a coherent ideology and more of a shared vocabulary for frustration, borrowed whenever it's convenient. I mean, there's a reason why leftist unity is a meme. Just like, go on Twitter and observe how
well, I think you could see the same on the right as well. Like, there is well, again, he was talking about the shape that's very familiar, the horseshoe theory.
Who are supposedly on the same side argue about whether or not the sky is blue or just a slightly different shade of blue. That vagueness is exactly why it's spread so fast. It's flexible enough to fit whatever specific grievance you're carrying with you, whether that's rent, healthcare, or just general doom about the future. And it's already flexible enough to cause the iconic leftist infighting as we know it. Tanky's fighting social dems on this bizarre idea of ideological purity. Social dems just rolling their eyes at the vote harder, liberal, and BreadTube itself getting called out constantly for being long on discourse and short of anything useful for their cause. But I digress. All of this, up until last year, sounded like it would be confined to just comment sections and Twitch chat and would have no political impact in the near future. There's no way a socialist could ever win something important, especially in the US, right? Enter Zoran Mamdani, a self-described democratic socialist who became the mayor of New York City while running on a left-leaning agenda. He somehow turned unsexy topics like rent freezes, free buses, and city-owned grocery stores into his golden ticket. And he did so without the use of any pompous words like systemic, praxis, or means of production. Ooh, just your rent is too high and I want to fix that. Simple, yet something that the younger generations have been asking for years. What also propelled him was his social media marketing. Mamdani's campaign felt authentic to the internet in a way that older politicians could never.
Oh yeah. Bernie Sanders is looking out for your bottom half.
Meme literate, comfortable on TikTok, speaking in the same register as the people he was trying to reach, instead of a stiff politician looking up what the youths are up to these days. In other words, absolute film scene has. As much as people loved Bernie Sanders, he always felt like a protest candidate. The guy you vote for to send a message, not someone you'd actually expect to win the whole thing. But Mamdani is different. He has proved that the sentiment can survive contact with an actual ballot box. It's no longer confined to BreadTube comment sections or protest signs. It's translating into won elections, actual city budgets, and actual policy. Something for the older folk to keep in mind. So, is Gen Z actually socialist or just allergic to a system that keeps failing to deliver on its own promises? Probably somewhere in between. I mean, this isn't a generation that inherited marks from their parents. They inherited 2008, COVID, and a rent bill that just keeps on climbing no matter how hard they work. Whether socialism sticks as the
Well, that's if they're working. We have to include that because, again, a lot of the people that have a lot of time to complain just don't work for a living. Like for me, here I am complaining and I work for a living. But then again, I know where I'm at. I'm on the bottom rung. Yet I'm working to try and, like, I'm taking classes. I am working full time. I am trying to do this as well. There are so many things I'm trying to get done just so I can climb the ladder so I can actually get paid more because I'm a married man and I need to make sure my wife lives a happy life. Yeah, that sounds nice. Happy wife, happy life, right? So it's like that's what I'm striving for. How long does it take to get there? Well, we'll see. I mean, who knows? Maybe one day I'll just stop streaming and I'll be working too much to try and get that capitalist dream to make enough to actually just have a good life. But we'll see. When things get too expensive, people suddenly want socialism. Yeah. When the thing is, socialism only exists in when they have capital to make those social programs work. And again, I'm for social programs. The problem is in the US, you keep seeing it misused. Like some of the healthiest people are on like VA disability, or they're just on food stamps, or like when it's like, why are they on food stamps? They should just get a job. There are plenty of jobs out there. Well, I just don't want to work. And then it's just like, why? I've watched too much Caleb Hammer. It's very disheartening seeing that and being like, well, the system's ruined, even though I personally have always known the system was ruined. Like years ago, I was like, I knew I could apply and file for like social services and get money from the state. I never did because I value myself and I value those programs should be used for people that need them. But because I didn't take it, somebody else that didn't need it took it. So it's a lose-lose. It's a lose-lose.
Or it's just a short name for capitalism, but fix all the parts that are broken. One thing's for sure. The fear that used to come standard with that word is gone. And once the fear is gone, the argument actually has to be won by merit. But what do you think? Are you a socialist? Do you think Gen Z is becoming more left-wing than before? Let me know in the comment section down below. My name is Janusz, and you've watched Living Ironically in Europe.
Living Ironically in Europe. Oh, good name. Again, I don't know. I don't think... It's in a vacuum. I think people, when they're young, they have this ideology of the world, but as they grow older, they see the world for what it is, and most people aren't online. Like, I have 4 brothers, that are successful, and they don't have social media. Not a single one has. Well, maybe one of them. I think one of them might have gotten social media, but they don't have social media. Why? Because they don't need social media. They spend time with their families. They work for a living. They spend time with the kids. They spend time doing things outside. Most people aren't online. It's the terminally online. Like, even I am not terminally online. I struggle to just get on Discord and reply to everyone. Like, it's too much work for me. It's too much work. I'd rather spend my time doing my classes, or spending time with my wife, or being at work. Like, there's so many things that I'm trying to do all at once that I have no time. Like I have no time to do anything. Like they say, give a busy man more work. Like a job well done is the reward for a job well done is more work. Isn't that the saying? So it's like, yeah, I'm gonna end up being doing it, doing more work all the time. Maybe AI should replace politicians instead of working employees. Yeah, I would be all for that. I'd be all for that, because they would do everything logistically. It'd be by the books. Same thing with the court systems. Change it with AI. Instead of having these sympathetic judges, you literally have law and order be treated the same every single case. Oh, but it's so sad. This is a mother of 3. However, she killed 4 people. Like, why would you feel sorry for a mother of 3 that killed 4 people? Like, no, just Terminator. That's what I think. That's what I think.
You guys got a video? It's so bad.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Wait like that.